welcome back to episode 18 of the Staggies View podcast, the number 2 podcast covering all things Ross County. I'm your host, Robbie McDonald, and joining me today, as ever, is the laziest man in Scotland, Ramsay Banks. Ramsay, what time do you call this?
Time you gotta watch, mate.
Ooh.
The Partick Thistle fan cam, Peter Mackay.
Hi, Robbie.
Peter, what on earth was that video about?
You know what, mate? I just thought, good atmosphere from the,
Well,
from
you
the
just
West End
enjoy
boys.
the opposition's celebration, yeah?
Yeah, Partick Thistle boing boing's my favourite chant in world football.
And then making his video debut to the detriment of our lovely viewers, Liam Miller. Happy to be back.
Hello. Oh, loving it.
Brilliant. So I thought to begin, we'll try, before we get on to the two probably depressing aspect of the podcast, I thought we'd start with a little icebreaker. So obviously the BBC show Traitors has been unbelievable. Have you been watching it, Pete?
I have, mate, but I'm actually 2 behind, so no spoilers, please.
Okay,
But,
okay, we'll keep it quiet. But I was thinking, what county player do you think would have the best impact? We'll start with you, Ramsay. Who do you think would be the best traitor?
Well, this is kind of a stab in the dark because I've not watched a single minute of this show.
Prepared as ever.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, is it just like a controversial, someone who's gonna have eyes on them?
Yeah, kind of. What would we say, Pete? Like a kind of imposter?
yeah, someone who's deceiving others in their team to better themselves.
Okay.
First question, isn't it?
I'm gonna go with. God, who am I gonna go with? Can you come back round to me, please?
Right, okay, we'll move Pete. Pete, surely you're more prepared.
Yeah, of course I am. I'm gonna go for Harry Clark. That moment where he declared that he was signing for a much bigger team in Hibernian, and then they proceeded to fail to get a top 6 finish while we did get a top 6 finish. But I think it was quite hilarious, and I think that really came and bit him in the arse. So I'll go for him.
Oh, wait, if it doesn't have to be someone in the current squad.
Oh, sorry, past or present, Ramsay.
Right, okay, that's easy. Johan Arquin.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Just stopped showing up. Went to St. Mirren because they had a better chance of staying up. They got automatic relegation. Well, from Valentine's Day onwards that year, we were on the list of most informed clubs in Europe. So yeah, Johan Arquin's mine.
That's a good answer.
That was good. I like that. Liam, have you got any? Can you match that kind of that level?
Mine was also Harry Clark. Took us for a ride and then was like stabbed right in the back. But we got the last laugh, so get it right up him.
I was thinking, I wasn't thinking so much the kind of backstab and moving to another club. I was thinking a player who's a bit of, as you were putting it, Pete, a bit of an imposter, maybe trying to, hiding, not giving his all for the team and probably making life more difficult for others. I would have to go with Martin Woods. He does get a tough time. He obviously scored a couple of important goals for us, but there was just so many games where I'm like, if I was Jackson Irvine playing beside him, I would be absolutely fuming.
That's fair.
I think, but talking proper traitors, I think one probably takes the biscuit this week, doesn't it, boys?
Well, to say the least, mate. Controversial.
Alex Samuel has signed for Inverness Caledonian Thistle on loan. Ramsay, did you see this one coming?
No, I didn't. It was in the works last year, but either he or the club or Malky said no because they did one way or another. They didn't want to do business with Cali. I think that
a proper manager.
Well, but the thing is with Alex, if Derek isn't going to be given him game time and he wants to stay up here, then I guess for him it's a bit of a no-brainer. But I'm upset at this. Even though they're league below and it's just a loan and all that, I hate seeing players go over there. I always have and I always will.
That's the thing. It's like I don't know. It's a bit better that it is Cali Thistle and it is our rivals. If you're saying putting the rivalry aside, it is a move that probably makes sense, but you just never like to see a player going to Cali, do you, Pete?
Nah, I think you're right. Obviously, personally, I would have kept Alex Samuel at the club. I think he's got a lot to offer, and although it's probably not in a way he wants to, like he is probably the type of player who wants to go and be starting games every week. And yeah, let's be honest, he's probably not going to do that here, no matter who's in charge. I mean, he didn't even do it under Malky. So if he was going to do it under Adams, he would have really had to, I think, sort of kick on and develop his game. Obviously, we got the best out of him when he did come off the bench, and that suited us fine as supporters because we knew we were going to get that 10, 15-minute burst of excellence. But I think at his age and this stage in his career, I think, yeah, he's fair enough. He wants to go and play games, and I think he'll bang them in for Cali, to be honest.
What was your initial reaction, Liam? I was with you, of course, when Alex Samuel opened his goal-scoring account about, I don't know, an hour into his debut, having only scored one goal for us the whole season. So what was your reaction to the move?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit disappointed, but I think an important point is that for us as a club, it frees up a bit of the wage budget as well. We brought in a lot of loans, and we'll talk about them a bit later on. But I think it's probably the right move. It's probably a good move for us and him, definitely. And hopefully he comes back to the club and performs better than he has before.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think that if he goes and does perform at Cali, do you think there's still a future for him at County? I'm not too sure what the contract situation is with him. I don't know if either of you boys know.
He's got a year after the season.
A year after the season. Do you think that... I suppose if he scores enough goals, he's obviously going to get a chance, but do you think Derek could be persuaded to keep him?
Pete? I don't know.
Yeah. I would, yeah, I think so. I don't think the door is ever fully closed when you go on loan. Like you said, similar about Kyle Turner. It's like another one that's like maybe they were kind of offered different things at the time of signing as to compared to now in terms of game time. Like I said, I think he's going to go and do well at Cali, and he'll probably make sure they stay up and might take them up the table a wee bit. But yeah, again, it never knows. I think it kind of depends on our situation, come the end of the season as well, because we're certainly not, exactly comfortably staying in the league at this point. We're hanging in the balance a bit as well, so I think that will have something to do with it also.
I know you can pretty much say that again, mate. There was obviously when it was going down the transfer, there was a kind of a rumor of one of Adams' Morecambe players, Tom Bloxham, so like come in and like maybe like a striker replacement for Samuel, but I think the BBC ruled that out. There's some like ruling that he can't play for more than 2 clubs in a season. So
yeah,
do you think we will? Sorry, Ramsay.
He got recalled to Shrewsbury, and they were deliberating whether or not to send him back out. Apparently, Derek was basically bashing down their door for him, but he played a game for them, he came on a game for them. So yeah.
So that's them ruled him out signing for anyone else. So do you think we will sign a striker, or do you think we're just going to have to rely on Brophy, White, and Murray till the end of the season?
I don't think we'll sign a striker. I think in an ideal world we would. But then again, if you look at it from a different angle, it's maybe a good thing. It's maybe, it's going to elevate game time for the 3 you mentioned there. Obviously, Brophy's really struggled for minutes this season. So hopefully having one less striker in the club obviously means he's going to get more opportunities. I think that can only be a good thing. Like, we all know how good Brophy is. And even when he was, playing towards the end of last season, he wasn't at his full fitness, and we saw how big an impact he had. So I think it's probably only a matter of time before Derek's looking to work him back into the team.
Yeah, obviously you're always wanting competition for places, and I think you want players that are good enough to push each other. But striker is a position that it's kind of, you need confidence, and it's a position that probably momentum helps you quite a lot. So I think hopefully if we can give more of these boys a more kind of sustained run in the team, especially Eamon Brophy, if he can stay fit, then that can only be a good thing, Liam.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that under Malky we played with 2 strikers as well, and sometimes in bizarre situations we'd have 4 on at the same time. I don't think we needed all 4 if we're playing one up front. So hopefully, I mean, those three players have got goals in them. I mean, White's scored, he scores goals every season. Murray, if he can score. He just, I don't know, he's missed a few sitters. Like, he's quite a frustrating player to watch at times. But if he kicks on, then I see no problem in us scoring goals. And I mean, the chances that Danda creates is just like, it's ridiculous, really, for the place we are on the table.
Yeah, I think when you've got a midfield that's good, then when you've got a midfielder who's that good, then you just want strikers who are able to stick the ball into the back of the net. And I think, like, you can see with his formation against Partick, I think he is, like, I know we haven't really signed an out-and-out winger yet, but I think he is kind of wanting us to move back to having wide players. And I'm guessing 4-2-3-1 might be a formation that we see a bit more of towards the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm certainly, for one, surprised we've not gone for a winger. I think we've said on here multiple times, like, priority in January is wingers. We've kind of just diverted completely away from that. But saying that, we've seen Henderson start to get a few more minutes. Josh Sims has obviously been fairly nailed on in the team since Adams came in. And Danda as well can play in that wide role. Obviously, though, it's not as, I wouldn't say it's his favoured position, but we've maybe got enough there to maybe just about do a job.
Yeah, we touched on it last week.
Sorry, hopefully we get one in before the window slams shut. I know Adams has been going on and on about filling his loan quota of 7. So hopefully, if we manage to fill that, hopefully one of those will be a wide player.
Yeah, we touched on it last week, but obviously we do need a couple wingers. But another position I would say we needed even more was a new left back. So in the door came Cameron Borthwick-Jackson. That was confirmed. Didn't get a minute against Partick Thistle, but obviously still finding his feet in the door. More competition for Harmon and Reid. What do you make of that, Ramsay?
I'm not too sure. I think obviously we said last podcast is that Perrington's gone, but we'll be fine because we have 2 good quality left backs. I'm not sure exactly how it's come around, whether it's, Adams doesn't rate one of them more than the other and he felt need to bring in more competition, or Borthwick-Jackson became available and he thinks he's of too high quality to pass that opportunity up. Only time will tell, but obviously he's from pretty much the best pedigree he can come from in Man United Academy, and he did get a few minutes under Louis van Gaal when he broke through. So hopefully it's not one of those where, a player that used to be highly rated in England comes up and stinks the place up. Fingers crossed it's, he actually shows where he's come from in a massive, massive club, debatably the biggest in the world, like Man United.
Right, what were you thinking about that transfer, Liam?
Well, I don't really know, to be honest. He played a good few minutes under, where was it, Burton Albion. He played a good few games there, I think almost 2 full seasons. So, I mean, he can't be bad at that level, I don't think. But, he was out. Where did he come from? Was it like a Polish team?
Polish top flight.
Yeah, I mean, I think he played one game and then was punted down to the reserves, and I don't think he played for the reserves either. So I don't. We'll have to see. I felt like Reid and Harmon were good enough to keep down that left back spot, but yeah, it's a weird one. I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, he played 10 games for Man United, Premier League appearances as well. Like, but I remember when he started playing for them, and he did look like a decent player, but he just never kind of made that position his own. He's played at Oldham Athletic for a good season. He played a couple of years at Burton, as you're saying. But yeah, a Polish first division. I can't say I know much about the Polish league, but I can't imagine it can be that much ahead of Scottish football. Surely, Pete.
Anyone want to hear me try and say this team name?
I would love to, mate. More than any team in the world.
Slask Wroclaw.
I think you nailed that.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Let's move on. Quick one ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with Liam. I think, to be honest, if I was either of Josh Reid or George Harmon, I think I'd be feeling a bit hard done by. I think, obviously, putting some good shifts for County, but he was never really nailed on. Obviously, Harmon was at that upper level ahead of him, I would have said. And I think they probably both thought they were going to get increased game time when he signed for Exeter. It's a bit of a strange one. Like you said, maybe it's a case that Adams, doesn't fancy one of them, or maybe we're going to see some sort of master stroke from Derek Adams, and that one of them is going to play in a different position other than left back, which is probably going to be the case on Saturday with our injury crisis, as we're going to speak about. But yeah, I think it's one of those ones. Time will tell. It could be a good signing, and it might be a master stroke. He might be brilliant, might be the one who keeps us in the league, or it might be, it might be one of those Davin Gog signings who's someone's come from a big pedigree and they falter out. Hopefully, it's not the latter, but yeah, it's literally one of those ones. Time will tell.
Pete, you're talking about the Partick game. I think my favourite moment from that game is when Reid came on and went to the middle of a back three. James Brown went to the left of him, and who else was on? Was it Leek?
Nightingale.
Nightingale on the right side, Brown on the left side, and Reid in the middle.
That was messy.
Yeah.
Jay Henderson right back as well at some points.
Yeah.
It can't be saying much for Adam's opinions of Josh Reid, can it? Obviously, I would say Harmon as well, but Harmon was the player who got that start against Partick. We'll come on later whether he covered himself in glory with a couple of the goals or not. But it's Josh Reid. Adams must not fancied him at all.
Yeah, but he's been injured, hasn't he?
Yeah,
from the start of the season. So whether he's not completely fit or not, or he just doesn't fancy him, it's
a strange one. I think obviously you said he's been hampered with injury, which is true, but I think under Malky he was, although he didn't start many games, I think Malky did see a route into the team for him. Obviously he started that game we won 1-0 away at Kilmarnock, and I thought he was really good. I think he was kind of like the Josh Reid of old that we saw, like a player who's not afraid to bomb on beyond his midfielder and winger to try and support the attack. But then again, was completely solid enough defensively. So in my personal opinion, Josh Reid is good enough to get games for this team. But it's going to be interesting to see whether he's just kept around, as a squad option, or whether we're maybe looking at a late loan move for him.
Also, despite not having played much football at Coventry at all, like any first-team football, I think he's really rounded out his game since he left us the first time. He's become so much better, on the back foot defending.
Yeah, I agree.
I remember that being a pretty real weakness for him.
Yeah, I think time will tell. Well, the next couple of games will be telling. I suppose if they're all going to be playing against Celtic, and we can see who plays best. But a transfer that obviously did go through was the departure of Ross Monroe. Pete, off the League of Ireland, was it Dundalk, I believe? Is that it's surprising, eh?
No, I think Malky had kind of hinted during the summer that this may be Ross Monroe's last year to try and make that final kick on before he has to think about doing what's best for his career. And I think that this move is probably that. Again, it's he's coming to an age where he doesn't really just want to be third choice anywhere. Derek Adams said that's all he was going to be after Wickens came in, was third choice, which is quite harsh. I think we didn't really get to see enough of Monroe, to be honest. I think he got the odd cup competition here and there. And at the very start of this season, when Laidlaw was out injured, I thought he gave a good account of himself in the Viaplay Cup groups. Obviously, he had some successful loan spells away as well, at the likes of Wraith. So yeah, it's a bit of a sad one because Ross Monroe's one of those guys who's came through the academy, he's county through and through sort of thing, and he kind of knows what it's all about. So to be losing one of those guys on that front, I would say it's not a good thing. But I think personally for him, it's a good opportunity and a good standard of football that he can go and prove himself at and reevaluate things, I think.
It's going to be weird not seeing him warming up at the start of every game. I feel like for the past however many 5-6 years he's coming to
7, I think,
maybe a bit less than that. He's just been there every single game. It's going to be weird, but I tell you what, that is a pretty big club in Ireland, I think. I think that is a pretty cracking move for him and his career.
He served County well over the years. He had a few loan spells out. I don't think, other than Wraith, he had a good run in the team. But I don't think, other than that, I don't think he got many games at like Cowdenbeath or Annan or teams like that. But
Brora played a lot for Brora, I think.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. You were saying, Pete, he had the odd cup game for County. One of those cups was the Iron Brew Cup in 2019, which he was a big part of winning that tournament. I do remember in the final, he passed the ball straight to their striker and nearly put us 2-0 down, but he made the save and recovered it. So we could forgive him for that. But yeah, he's just been around for a while. Few winners' medals here and there.
Yeah, probably one of the most decorated players in the club's history.
Which is got
to be on the short list at least.
But we'll wish him well. Wish him well in all the future. But yeah, I don't think he was never going to be a starting player at County. But
it also means that sorry, Robbie. It also means that County keepers with Ross in their name is down to 2, and one of them's out for loan. Remember when we had 4?
4 with Duan as well.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. A player that we're hoping might get some game time though, if he signs. We're heavily linked with Teddy Jenks from Forest Green Rovers. They've obviously sacked their manager Troy Deeney after some Adams like comments. Probably a bit worse than what Adam said, but that seems like a club in turmoil. But he's been linked to County. Is this a player you know much about, a midfielder, I believe, Pete?
To be honest, I can't say I do. Obviously remember him from his time at Aberdeen, but in that year, Aberdeen had a rubbish season. So to say he was a mainstay of that team is maybe not the most impressive thing to pick out about his career, but obviously coming through at a really good level at Brighton, and we all know the amount of highly rated youngsters they can churn out. He's played a decent amount of football for Forest Green this season, albeit, like you said, they're not doing very well. But I think as someone who their fans, I think, rate quite highly, I think he's probably been viewed by Adams as this Scott Allardyce replacement for the time being. Someone who can kind of go in the midfield and graft the defensive side of things, which I think is definitely needed because we've missed Scott Allardyce heavily these past couple of weeks. So yeah, I think, fingers crossed he'll be able to step into those shoes.
He came into Aberdeen under Glass, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I can't really say he's a player I know that much about. Obviously that that Forest Green team is in a bit of a mess, but if he's one of those that's highly rated by their supporters, then obviously all for it. And yeah, we do need reinforcements in that Allardyce position because let's face it, we look so much better when Allardyce is in the team, and now he's out for like a long-term injury. So yeah, we definitely need someone there pronto.
Yeah, we'll come on to Adams' interviews later on and the bit of an injury crisis going at the Celtic, but looks like Allardyce is going to be out for at least 3 months, Liam. So do you think that's a position that we needed to reinforce? Do you think Jenks will be able to do that job?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I think it was like so important because our team doesn't really function without somebody who can break up the midfield. Like, as much as I like Latourie, and Sheaf together really doesn't inspire me with a lot of confidence. I think they're far too easy to get past. So somebody who can go flying into challenges, I hope this Jenks can be, just get stuck in and win the ball back.
We also had a bit of an how do you say that word? Anonymous tip-off. An anonymous tip-off. Alex Lowry apparently seen in Inverness. He out on loan at Hearts for the start of the season. Didn't probably go as well as he would have hoped. I don't think Hearts fans were too inspired. He had a couple good goals and he had a few good appearances in the team, but he never really made himself a mainstay in that starting lineup. So set back to Rangers. Their manager had some pretty harsh comments on him, saying they didn't want him back and they'll be happy to let him go. So could that pay the wee opening for him to come up to Dingwall, Ramsay?
I hope so. He's a very, very talented player. It's clear to see. I think we were asking the question last season. Was it January? He stayed at Rangers for the latter half of last season, right?
Yeah, last January he was linked with County. I don't know how strong the links were, but there was certainly a bit of chat on Twitter that he was going to be.
Yeah, there was a lot of chatter at one point,
but never materialised into anything at all.
I think, hopefully, if we were asking the question, he'd say yes, because he's been sent back to Rangers from Hearts. Hopefully, we're the level of team he'd want to go to now to get consistent football and sort of, get minutes under his belt, because he's obviously a very, very good player, but he's still a little bit, inexperienced. He's obviously not had much football at Rangers. He had some good moments at Hearts, but more often than not, he ended up on the bench. So yeah, I'd be all for this one. Very talented. I've heard some rumblings of like attitude problems, but you know how it is. Players from teams down, ugly sisters. There's always stories coming in here, there, and everywhere. People stirring the pot. So who knows if that's true at all? But I'd be buzzing to see Alex Lowry in Dingwall.
Is that a move that inspires you, Pete and Liam?
Yeah, it is. Although it's one I'm not sure about. I think although we had that tip off saying he's been in Inverness and stuff like that, but I don't know. I think if we're expecting an announcement for Jenks, then I would kind of expect that surely we're looking at a centre half. Obviously, Dylan Smith out long term, Ryan Leake out as well as Baldwin, Nightingale going to scrape through the next couple of games by the sound of things down in Wimbledon, getting an injection in his knee. I mean, I don't think Adams is silly enough to, go ahead with that Lowry deal while we've got that going on at the back. I think we've kind of got to prioritise what we need. And I think at centre half over Lowry, although it's quite, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, I think it's probably sensible. If Lowry signs fantastic, great. We might get a centre half on a permanent deal. You never know. But from what we heard from Adams during the week, it sounds like permanent deals are something he's not looking to touch at this moment in time. So, to be honest, I see it kind of either being Lowry or Jenks and a centre half. But you never know. I could be completely wrong there.
How many loans do we have at this moment in time? Wickens, Nightingale.
Wickens, Nightingales, Cameron Borthwick Jackson,
Kella, Borthwick Jackson,
Eli King.
And King. So we've got 5. So if we were to sign Jenks and Lowry, that would be the 7 loan maxed out. So I think that's a pretty good point, Pete. I would agree with you there. I think centre back is definitely the main concern. Would you agree, Liam?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Lowry's clearly a good player, but I kind of struggle to see where he fits in the side because he's played as a kind of like a centre attacking mid. He can play it wide. I'd kind of compare, like he's kind of like Turner. It's like where'd you put him, because he's not, his best position isn't out wide, but that's
best position is Jan Dander's position, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And
so
no
you
one's
can't have
Jan
two
Dander.
Jan Danders.
Exactly.
So it's I don't know. Centre backs definitely for me has got to be number one. Like I don't see why we wouldn't be looking at one.
I wish we could have 10 Jan Danders.
I wish we could have 11. Stick them in goals as well.
Yeah.
But I would say that kind of rounds up the transfer chat. We've got how long left? 6 days left of the window. It's getting a bit tight now. It's getting a bit worrying. But 6 days left. Surely we'll get at least those 2 loans in. Hopefully, time will tell. We'll see. We'll come back to this next week's podcast. We can do a little transfer window roundup and see what kind of state the squad's looking in. But
maybe he's doing that thing you do on Football Manager where you wait to the end of the window and all the loans are cheap.
I hope so. Hope we get some big Premier League names in then. But
get Ross Totally back.
Sure, him and Adams would get on like a house on
Oh
fire.
yeah.
Oh my god.
on an even more. I didn't think we could get more depressing than from Ross Oakley, but we're going to have to talk about this game at the weekend, boys. Scottish Cup we were having last week. Last week we titled the podcast "Can we win the Scottish Cup?" and very quickly found out no, we absolutely cannot. Liam, me and you, luckily, were not at the game.
Thank
Found
goodness.
a good excuse. Got away.
Part-timers.
You put your thumbs down at me, Pete, but who had the better afternoon? It definitely was not you and Ramsay. Obviously, you two in the press box for the game. Talk us through your experience, talk us through your day, talk us through the utter dross that was placed in front of you, Ramsay.
First of all, 10 minutes into the game, Pete's phone starts ringing. Who is it? It's Robbie McDonald wanting him to face the camera towards the game. So this goes on for about 3 minutes, and then Pete hangs up because he has to keep track of the game. Yeah, that was probably the highlight. You were probably the best thing about the game, and I don't know how that's possible.
That's the thing. There's no Partick Thistle. Like obviously, county TV hasn't been a thing other than the Aberdeen game. So there's no chance of watching it through that. But usually, every other team usually has a TV channel that you can like pay for the live stream, and Partick just did not. So there was no stream legally, no stream illegally. Not that we'd be touching that anyway. But me and Liam were sat in Gala Shields Weatherspoons with sports ironed on, trying to keep up with the game. I think
They didn't talk about us at all. It just went Partick scored, and then
Partick's first goal was the first mention of the game. So I thought maybe you two boys as journalists could be accommodated and give me a bit of a screening. But obviously that was too much work for you, Pete.
Yeah, well, look, you know, I had a busy job on. I was logging the game for Sports Scene, so it was either you get to see it firsthand on a small phone screen, or you just wait till night and see it on Sports Scene.
And I did neither. I did neither in the end after that result. But
yeah,
first, I suppose. So, talk us through your thoughts on the first half, Pete.
Yeah, this is going to be hard to do without chucking in too many swear words and you know, just like utter. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it was just utter dross. It was absolutely shambolic. I think from the get-go, you know, we didn't really look like we were going out with any intent. Partick Thistle imposed themselves on us. I think me and Ramsay were like in utter disbelief first 50 minutes how slack our passing was. It was like, you know, we were trying to, it was again really, really similar to the Aberdeen game. We're trying to play this nice football, play it from the back, play through the lines, and we just couldn't do it. And as soon as Partick Thistle pressed, they won the ball. It was turning over, and they were getting chance after chance. And I think we're probably lucky that they didn't score earlier than they did. Yeah, we had a few good chances, not just first half. You know, throughout the game, we had chances that we should have scored, but we didn't deserve to score a goal. Our overall general play was that poor that, you know, 3-0 was at very least, you know, the fairest result that we could have been handed on that day. Worst performance of the season by far, and that's now 2 games in a row where I've got in the car and said that exact same thing to Dad. I think that kind of shows you where we are at this moment in time.
I think
Ramsay leading up to, like, we won't touch on the goals just yet, but in that kind of opening half-hour play, what were you thinking?
I think we'll get onto the defensive issues in a minute, as you said. There is one moment that sums up this game for me, and Pete knows what it is because I've not stopped talking about it since the game. So there's a long ball, you know the type. Centre-back's miles nearer to it than any county player, you know, as you do. Normal players usually don't press that much, but Simon Murray is not a normal player, so he is busting a gut to get forward, makes up so much ground. It still looks like it's not going to fall for anyone, but he's busting a gut. He gets back and he gets a touch and it breaks in the middle of the box. There's no Partick Thistle player anywhere near it. If someone was there, it's a free shot goal. It's a sitter. So Murray's busted a gut to get forward and get that break of the ball. But Sims and Danda and I think King are just jogging leisurely like 20, 25 yards behind it. So I think as harsh as it is, that shows the difference in effort between Murray and anyone else on that pitch. Like Murray was up here and everyone else was just kind of idling. And I don't like to say players are not trying because I'm not a professional footballer. It's not my job. Obviously, you just don't want to accuse players of not trying. But in that one moment, that just sums up the game for me. Absolutely terrible. Pete said, obviously, worst game of the season by far. Having said that, against the likes of Aberdeen, how many times we've got battered off Aberdeen this season? But it seems like every season for us has a defining that was pish game. This season, I think it's this one. Last season was Motherwell 5-0, and I think the season before was it probably at home to Livy 3-2. That losing streak before
the
we went
Metro.
on that winning streak.
Late
I
goal.
think this one genuinely was debatably worse than Motherwell. It was that bad.
It was a team in the league below. We've spoken about over the years. We've had some pretty shocking results in the Scottish Cup. Hamilton last year, I didn't think it could get much lower than that. Do you think this could be the worst one, Liam?
Yeah, I mean it doesn't get much worse than this. Obviously it was a bit of a grudge match, so you've always got that to kind of fall back on a wee bit because they want to, they're out for revenge there. So yeah, it's just what do you say? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's worrying. It's worrying to say the least. The most worrying aspect of the game was by far the defending. Partick opened the score in 36 minutes in. Aidan Fitzpatrick, who scored the goal in that playoff final, just kind of fizzed the ball across goal. Brian Graham, who else but Brian Graham, gets on the end of it to put them 1-0 up. Not a great start, was it, Pete?
No, but like I said, it was all that we deserved. Our play leading up to that was, only falling in favour of Partick Thistle being the only team in the game. We were just so far off it. And I think something just to pick up on from what Ramsay said about that Simon Murray incident, I think after we saw that really displayed how disjointed the team was. And, where you can put that down to system, players, or, we've all heard rumblings of, things going on in the dressing room and stuff like that. But it's just unacceptable. And whether that's going on or not, as a whole, I think the players have to put in maximum amount of effort. And as we're going to hear from Simon Murray, he was, fairly critical of, the players behind him, and that he pretty much felt that he was the one putting in all the running, putting in all the hard yards, and it wasn't being followed up by his teammates. I think, just to add on from what Ramsay said, I think Murray and Danda were the two who were doing their best to try and drive us on. And we were falling back into this situation where Danda's playing as a 10, but because the whole team are playing that bad, he sort of felt the need to drop deep and get the ball to try and make stuff happen. On occasion, we've seen that work. It worked against Hibs in the 2-2 draw at their place where he dropped deep, got the ball, fired it out wide, and we got a goal from it. But it gets to a point where you go 2-3-0 down, and you can see some players. I'm with Ramsay on this one. You don't like to point it out and don't like to say it, but you can clearly see there's different levels of effort and attitude in that team that played out there, and it's not nice to watch. But yeah, I think going 1-0 down was inevitable, and the two that followed, I would say the same again, to be honest.
Let's just get straight onto that second goal. There's been the video of the goal. You could hear our friends Alan Ross, the jail ender, and his son Dean were not impressed. And no one in the ground was impressed with the defending on that one. George Harmon didn't cover himself in glory, did he, Ramsay?
It's just, it is almost, you can hear them screaming, like, Perfect. The background.
That's a brilliant bit of content.
To be fair. But the fact that, one, Wallace slips and no one takes it off him, and two, McEnroy's first to that loose ball is criminal. It is absolutely criminal, and then obviously Wickens can only parry it, and then Randall and Nightingale nearly kill each other trying to block it. But yeah, I think I think that might have been the worst goal to concede on the day in terms of just the quality of defending. I know the first one was bad because Fitzpatrick puts it's a good cross, but it somehow gets past Nightingale and Harmon, and Leak is too high up the box to get anywhere near it. But that one was just bordering on comedy from start to finish.
Liam, I'm assuming you've had the chance to watch the goals back.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The second one, the worst in your eyes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just bad defending from start to finish. I don't why Harmon isn't getting he's letting him run at him. He's giving him exactly the amount of space Lawless wants to take it past him. I don't get it. I don't know why what benefit is Harmon getting from sitting off? And then once he's in the box, you've screwed it, because you can't, a player like Lawless will, make something either make something happen, or you'll get close to him then and take him out. It's just it's bizarre. And then just same old story, bouncing around the box in the back of the net. Just to go back to the first one, what's Nightingale doing? How can he not get to that? It's right next to his leg.
It's so bad, isn't it?
It's like it's heading straight at him, and then he just turns around, and it's like, what are you doing? It's basic defending. I just don't. I kind of get Adam's frustration. It's like, what can he do? What can anybody do about that? That's on the players themselves.
The goal came like injury time in the first half as well. Probably they say it's the worst time to concede in football, but 2-0, you kind of had the feeling the tie might be over then, didn't you, Pete?
Yeah, if we're credit where credit's due, Adams made the changes. I think I agree with what he said post match. A manager shouldn't have to make 3 subs at halftime. I think that shows you how bad some of the individual performances were on the day. But obviously, Brown, White, and who was the third? Henderson came on. Yeah. So, yeah, in that sort of 10-minute spell after halftime, we did switch it on a bit. We created a couple of chances. But, we all know that feeling. Like when we played Partick Thistle last time, there wasn't that feeling that, right, we could actually do something here. It was just they were really strong defensively, and just all game, whatever we did just didn't seem to trouble them. And that was kind of the story of the game, and more so the story of our season, is that we just really haven't lived up to what we could be, and it's so infuriating.
Pete, you said we put it on the first 10 minutes of the second half, which we did. To be fair, we created like a chance or two, but we should have conceded a penalty in the first 20 seconds of the half.
Yeah.
It comes to the left-hand side. Brown is trying to defend. I think Fitzpatrick slips, and I think it's Nightingale that just absolutely clatters into him. I don't know how that's not been given, but yeah, it does just kind of sum up our season. I remember when oh my God, when we stayed up, like outrageous number of season ticket sales. The new kit was doing record numbers. I think people were so excited, and I'm wearing the kit right now. Like, I love this kit. I'm so upset that it's been wasted on another season like this.
There's not much else to say. I'm trying to think of a way we could spin this a bit more positively, but I just can't at all.
Right.
Obviously, there's the wee 10-minute spell maybe, but 54th minute ball falls to Bannigan at the edge of the box, and wow, what a finish, Pete.
Aye, it's a screamer. And it sends their fans, who you think are my favourite fans, sends them into absolute bedlam.
Were you buzzing? Were you just sitting there taking it in, just watching it happen?
To be fair, at this point, I was just like, fair play, what a screamer. I think, yeah, but I think you look at quick question and defending again. But that goal, I think there's an exception there. I think there's nothing you can do about it apart from Wickens maybe making a dive, which would be nice to see.
He genuinely stood still. I know, like, all 3 goals, you cannot really blame the keeper, but he just didn't move. He just all 3 goals, he just stood rooted to the spot. Like, pretty easy money for him.
It's kind of hard to see though. There's about 40 players.
I'm not blaming him for the goals. I just thought it was quite funny that he did not dive for a single one of them.
Yeah.
I'm honestly just more surprised that the Facebook brigade didn't jump on Jordan White being the one who headed the ball out for Bannigan.
That man gets far too much hate. But is there much we could sit and rant about this all day? Is there anything else anyone wants to say? We should just try and
Eli King made his debut.
Eli, that's true. Any thoughts? Pete?
What a game to make your debut. Nah, I think he did fine. It's not a game I want to judge him off, because if we judge him off that, then it's not going to be very good. We'll forget about it. Let's go on to the interviews, I say.
We'll get on to the interviews. We've got, you touched on it earlier, Pete. Simon Murray was a bit, I don't know, he wasn't complimentary, to say the least. So we can, thanks to our good friend Andrew Henderson, we can hear from Simon Murray now.
It's a frustrating one today, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously we've had that break, time to work, like we've had time to work and whatever else after the last disappointing sort of result, and not good enough today. Yeah.
What do you put that down to? You caught cold after a couple of weeks off?
I mean, no, not really. It's not like it's not excuses or anything. Just it was flat. I think, I don't know. You tell me, was the effort there? I don't know. Well, like the boys, that's one thing we've always been known for. And today, after we went 2-0 down, we had chances and stuff, but maybe not created as much chances as what we could have. And it was disappointing. A really bad day at the office.
Was it a slightly different formation and setup from the start today? Did you feel that isolated maybe up front in your own?
I mean, a little bit. Not isolated, but I mean, we were just getting to grips with it, and I thought we played it okay in that, but maybe. I don't know. I'm not blaming formations or nothing. It's just a poor day at the office from the players, and obviously we've let the fans down. Came out. I mean, they back us all the time. So just apologies to them from the players, because I mean, that's not good enough, and we know that. Yeah.
So what's the next steps to sort of make sure that doesn't happen when you return to league action next week?
No, we definitely need to get an act together. The boys need to get together, stick together. We've been in difficult situations before. We're all, good professionals and stuff. We just need to get together and maybe have a word with each other and go again. There's nothing else for it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, how does that sort of look in the dressing room, I guess? Are there one or two guys that might take everybody aside and say, look...
Yeah, there's definitely older professionals there that we can do that, and we can talk to us. Obviously, we're all up here. Boys are from different parts of the UK, so we're a close-knit group. They do a lot after training, and, they're all good guys. So we've got the ability to speak to each other and be truthful with each other. So that's what we need to do, because at the end of the day, the good thing about football, you've always got next week to put it right, and I mean, that wasn't good enough today, we know that, so we just need to look at ourselves, nobody else, and try and get back on track.
What was the message from the manager after that?
It wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. That was it, really. It wasn't good enough, so
I guess not much more needs to be said.
Well, it doesn't. We all know it's not good enough. So, I mean, disappointing to say the least. Frustrating. I'll leave it at that.
How have you found life under Derek since he came in?
Not bad. Yeah.
Just leave it at that as well. Okay, fair enough. There has been a wee bit of speculation about your own future at the club. Is there anything you can say or that you want to say?
No, look, I'm here. I'm here to fight with the boys. I won't be going any place. I'm a Ross County player. I love it up here, like the boys, and playing up here and doing my best, so I'll continue to do that until I'm told otherwise.
Sure. And that's come up for a year, isn't it, since you signed? So
I know.
it feels like a very different situation from when you came in.
It's been a mad year.
Yeah.
The thing is, look, we're just after the game. We're obviously disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm out here speaking, and I don't like to do that. I'll go and look at my own game, what I could do better. But yeah, I'm just disappointed. So.
Yeah. What do you make of that, Pete?
Pretty damning, to be honest. I feel like that was quite a funny interview. Some great stuff there.
Good for a journalist, isn't
it? From a journalist's point of view, some great stuff. But when I was listening to it, I feel like Simon Murray said so much yet so little in that 3 minutes. I think he was kind of a bit like how we feel right now, kind of like a bit perplexed at what the hell's just happened. It was like, kind of half accusing his teammates of, their effort levels not being high enough, which I think is completely justified. And I think it's fair enough on him to call them out. And I think he's probably the type of guy who won't just say that in the media. He probably said the exact same thing, but like 10 times harsher in the dressing room. So I think
maybe some different choice of language.
Yeah, so probably I think fair enough that we're getting to hear a bit of that side of him as well. But yeah, the getting asked about how life's been under Derek Adams, I think, is pretty telling.
He didn't give too much away.
No, I think, to say the least, he might be the most minimalist answer I've ever seen in a post-match. For reasons to be had, let's not contribute to the rumours that are floating around. But I think hearing that makes you really step back and think, wow, what's happening?
I will say it was good to hear him sort of commit himself to the club. I know there's been a lot of talk, but he really did it. Like, it would have been easy to give like a generic answer, but he's like, no, I'm a Ross County player. So, obviously, something could still happen, but that was a good show of commitment.
Yeah, I was gonna come on to that. He has obviously basically committed his future to Ross County, at least till the end of the season. He said that he's going nowhere. If he now does go somewhere, he will immediately become my biggest traitor. I think that's a good player to hold on to. He's not in the greatest mindset going off that interview. You can tell that he's probably not happy with how things are at the club, but he is a player who always gives his all, and he was quite a big part of us staying up. So are you happy to hear that he's staying, Liam?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, in a time like this, with the club being a bit, all over the place, you need a bit of passion, you need a bit of drive. Somebody will just run legless every game, whether he scores or not. Is he's been hit or miss. I mean, he was like, 10 goals at the start of the season, like including our friendlies. He was flying, and he's just kind of dried up a wee bit, but I hope he starts scoring again. I love him personally. Just passion. He's great, but yeah, it's not a great interview, is it? It's not what you want to hear.
It's not inspiring.
Nah, I mean, like, how is this derailed so quickly? Is my question. Like, I know. Obviously, the interview is we all know the interview. It's like it's been the first one. The first one. I mean, we were played so well against, battered Motherwell, and then we're good against St Mirren, and then we lose to St Mirren again. Not that it wasn't that bad a game. Dundee obviously is the one in question, which was horrific. But how do we just fall off a cliff?
It's not. It's a hard one to put your finger on. I think that, you've touched on it there. That the first interview, of course, obviously put that kind of cloud over the club. You could say he turned a lot of media attention. But what this week after the Partick game, he kind of doubled down. And I've seen quite a lot of fans have probably said his BBC interview this week was possibly worse than the one after Dundee, Pete.
Yeah, I think we've got to be completely honest as supporters, and he's not covering himself in glory. I think what we're finding week after week, result irrelevant, is that he's kind of lighting these fires after post-match interviews, having a load of backlash, and then finding himself having to come out and put out the fire during the midweek press conference.
I'm sure. Sorry, Pete. I'm sure all our listeners have heard the interview, but just in case, Derek Adams was basically just saying that he regrets coming back to County. That was the gist of the interview.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's not a good look. And, as we'll get on to and we'll hear, I do think he did a good job of rectifying what he said, to be honest, but we shouldn't have to go there in the first place. I think, and I completely get that, maybe some supporters like it, maybe some supporters want complete downright honesty, but I think you should only be given that to an extent. I think there's some things that should stay behind closed doors, and there's a lot of things that supporters don't want to hear and don't need to hear, to be frankly honest. And I think I know Liam said the Dundee game was bad. I actually think we played quite well in that Dundee game, funnily enough. I think 0-0 would have been a fair result, and I think it would have been a positive enough point. I think the St Mirren game was worse. I just think it's kind of, like you said, I don't understand how this has happened so quickly. Going from, being so good at one point, unbeaten in the first 2 wins, a 3-0 smashing against Motherwell, and then coming to this, where we've just been hammered 3-0 against a championship team in Partick Thistle. To me, that feels like something that doesn't just happen like out of coincidence. I think there's no smoke without fire. We all know that. And I think there are things going on behind the scenes that aren't the most positive. Whether that sole interview is completely to blame, I don't think we'll ever know. But I certainly don't think some of the things that are getting said in the media, this certainly aren't helping, causes like togetherness and motivation, which I think is something that previous manager Malky Mackay was quite good at in terms of keeping the dressing room together during adversity. Well, we had some stinking results under Malky. We got beat 5-0 off Motherwell, 6-1 off Hearts, and yet time and time again, we somehow managed to bounce back and get wins, just weeks after those moments. So I think it's kind of the squad's gone from, a lot of motivation and togetherness and being defended by their manager to something that's like completely, on the other hand, so drastically different. And I think it's a bit unsettling maybe.
Yeah, and I remember back when I did the kind of open goal fan form just after that horrific 6-1 defeat at Hearts, James McFadden, one of Scotland's best ever players, you'd have to say, he did say that he thought that County, because I was like, we're down. Like after losing 6-1, there was no part of me who thought we were set up. And he said, McFadden said, you might have a chance because of the calmness of your manager. And because, the way it frustrated fans a lot. Like when Malky was in charge, I remember especially after that 6-1 game, he comes out and he just kind of plays it down, pretends everything's going fine. You never know what he was like. I'm assuming he was completely different behind closed doors, but he always put up that front for the media, which I don't think every fan was happy with. I think fans were hoping for a bit more honesty, but we've just gone like the complete opposite end of the spectrum with Derek Adams. Like he's so honest. And I was listening to Peter Crouch's podcast with Neil Warnock, and they were basically saying how what Warnock's known as being in like one of the best man managers. And Steve Sidwell on the podcast was saying that when you've got a manager who puts trust and confidence in you, that's when you play your best, and you want to run through brick walls for him. He's not putting any confidence in these County players, is he, Liam?
No, not at all. But it's a hard one because, I think it's maybe the drastic change
from Malky.
The Malky and even Yogi, for example, is like that run of these players being told how brilliant they are, and then to have Derek Adams storm into the dressing room and just go, you can't pass a ball 5 yards, must be a pretty harsh reality. Because I agree with him on like most of it. Some of these
Yeah.
players we've spent money on, and then they're not good enough. It's a shame, but I kind of feel if we got like if it was 50% of Derek Adams' honesty, I think we would have had a good manager. You know what I mean? It's like it's too much. It's too much for these players to be told they're rubbish. And I think I don't know how, like, would you have kept Malky? Maybe, probably to the end of the season. But it's how long can you be told you're great when you're not? I don't know how long that lasts. I think they're both unsustainable forms of management. Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll come to their end. But it's kind of what the players need. I think they need a kick up the arse, but I think this was more of a kick in the bollocks than a kick in the arse. You know what I mean?
As you were saying, Pete, he did try and rectify his comments in the midweek presser. So we can hear from Derek Adams now.
Yeah, it's a football club that I love. I've been here twice as a player. I've been here as a manager 3 times, and I'm here, the 3rd time on, and I enjoy it. I love the management. The circumstances that we're in at this moment in time is difficult. There's no doubt about that, and it's up to us all to pull together to get moving forward. I've been told not to.
Can I just pick up on what Charlie said there, because I think you gave an answer there, but just to maybe elaborate on it, there was probably a social media perception, and you know what it's like.
Yes.
You know what it's like, that you'd given the impression you weren't happy at the club. Is that wrong, basically?
Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go too much into it because I didn't answer the question and probably missed a word out in answering the question at that moment in time. And I think when you're any manager going into a football club, it happens anywhere. You see things differently when you go into a football club, and that's all that I was saying. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being honest and going in, and when you delve into things, then it becomes different. What is wrong with giving that opinion? I could say it differently and camouflage things. All I'm trying to be is honest with everyone as best as I can, but in some sections that isn't good enough. Some people would be better that I didn't give a straight answer instead of giving a straight answer, and all I was trying to do was, when you go in and you see the different types of situations inside, and I could delve into it, and it would make it very simplified, but all I was trying to explain was that it's not until you go into any football club you find out, different things.
But I mean, the fans that welcomed you coming back here and were really enthusiastic probably just want to hear that you're fully committed, that to the long haul, I suppose.
I mean, I'm delighted to be back here. I've always, I've managed here 3 times, and I've been as a player. So no one forced me to come back here. I came here myself, and I think that I know in the day of social media it can get blown out of proportion, and that's for a certain reader or whatever it is. I get it, and people have undoubtedly have an opinion on who Derek Adams is, but they don't know who Derek Adams is. There's only people that I've known here for many years. Yourselves know who the real Derek Adams is, and what I'm portrayed as throughout the press, and sometimes is totally unfair, and it's not right. But all I said was I was given an honest answer. Is when you go into any business, then you see things that are different.
Once you dig beneath the surface.
Do you ever go onto social media and see reactions to things you've said?
No, I wouldn't do that, but I obviously get told what happens. But sometimes you can't help when you flick up a national page and then you see a headline and you think, wow, that's a bit strange, but that's the way that the world is at this moment in time, and it's strange, and it's not helpful, but sometimes that people say that it's a manager's job, but if you were to get the stick that I got or do get, then I'm sure that you wouldn't be too happy either.
So, Derek there says he loves the club. All's fine and well then, isn't it, Pete?
Well, I'm not sure. Not sure if I agree with that. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be there on Tuesday, and I did think he spoke really well. And I do see where he's coming from. To be honest, am I saying all's forgiven? Of course not.
Absolutely
I think
not.
we shouldn't have to be in this situation in the first place. But I think from what he did say, I think fans needed to hear that he's committed. Even if he's not, even if he's learned to keep something secret, I think first and foremost, he needs to tell fans he's committed. He needs to tell fans that he loves this club and wants to be here. Is he portrayed unfairly in the media? Probably. But are most managers? Yeah, probably. And I think it's something that comes part and parcel with being a footballer, being in the public eye, if you will. Yeah, I think he did a good job of rectifying his comments, but people aren't going to forget what was said in the first place. That's the issue, and the players first and foremost aren't going to forget what was said or what has been said in the past as well.
I think the unfair portrayal in the media comments is probably a bit. I don't know. He does get a rough end of the stick, but he sets himself up for it. I don't think he can have much. He can't have much complaints for what the press. A lot of the negative reaction has just been coming just straight off hearing the interview. It's not. I wouldn't say the papers are really spinning anything here. It's just he's going under a lot of fire, but he's putting himself in that position. But he's just a manager who clearly does not give a toss about what people think, which I guess you can respect him for. But Ramsay, do you think you were at the press conference as well? Do you think does it make up for it?
Well, in the moment, he sounded good. He sounded convincing. What he said was, good. It all made enough sense. It's just the stuff about. This is going to sound really harsh. I don't think he's been portrayed unfairly in the media at all. Like, he said some things about social media, about people maybe going a bit far on that side of things. He said he doesn't read social media, but he hears things that are unfair. Social media being unfairly portrayed there, I get. I don't think the media themselves have twisted much of anything. I don't think you can go out and give those interviews and then complain about how you've been portrayed in the media when they're posted. There's not really been much, apart from I saw the Daily Record took probably the most cringy part of that interview when he said, "Oh, you don't know the real Derek Adams," and everyone was just replying with, "Oh, Slim Shady." But I think the Record's the only one where I'm like, okay, that was a bit. You took that and ran with it.
I think I don't know. Just on that, I think that's maybe what he sees as unfair. Because I kind of agree with you. I don't think there's anything like massive that you could say that was unfair. I think he's maybe more context in that. For example, that BBC interview. He was in that BBC interview for like a good 7-8 minutes answering what I assume was like a multitude of different questions, whereas they picked that 1 minute 36 to post online. And of course, yeah, they're going to do that. That's their job. That was the most entertaining bit of the interview, the most damning bit of the interview. So I just think I don't know. I think maybe, again, like you said, with this bit, I mean, you don't know the real Derek Adams. I think that comment in context at the time, to me, did kind of make sense. But it's the things when people see these like short snippets online, and it's like just a headline and a subtext that you could argue is misleading, I would say. Sorry, Ramsay, to interrupt.
Oh no, you're completely right. I think in the presser itself, that the real Derek Adams bit, it just didn't occur to me as something like that in the moment, and I see it later, and everyone's replying with like gifs of Eminem, but yeah, I don't know. I think I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I don't think you can have too many complaints about the way he's being portrayed.
Yeah, I think.
I was just gonna say, like, we obviously have our journalist allegiances. So, as someone who's got no interest in the field, do you think we're being fair here? Do you think the press are
Yeah, well,
missing it a wee bit.
It's a bit of a snowball effect, I think, because I think the real problem was the scathing review of Scottish football. I think that that got a lot of other fans. I think if he left that bit out, I don't think fans would have been as interested in what he had to say, because who cares? Like, every fan thinks County are rubbish anyway. Why would they bother if the manager's saying it? But I think when he said that, like, the standard is 100 times better in what, League One, League Two, or more than League Two, 100 times better than Scottish football, I think, and then the second interview is just, everybody's watching out. What mental things he gonna say next? And he came out and said he regretted coming to the club. So I don't know. He probably deserves it, to be honest, but he's just too honest.
Sorry to interrupt, Liam. I think he didn't. For anyone who hasn't heard the interview, he basically said, "Oh, you do your homework before coming to a club." And then I think he was asked if there was any regrets, and he kind of skirted around it a little bit. I think there can only be one answer to that question that you give as a manager, and that's no. So that was basically the gist of it, and yeah.
We spoke earlier about how there has been that just massive fall off. Like, when he came in, it looked positive. We were buzzing on this podcast after that Motherwell game when, 2 wins on the trot, all looked fine and dandy. And then led up to that interview, Ramsay, you asked him in the press conference about is it his job now to try and get us back to how we were playing in those first couple of games? So we can hear what Derek had to say now.
You started your return to the club with 7 points from a possible 9. Is it sort of a case of getting your boys to sort of reach those heights again?
Well, the thing about it is that we've obviously got injury issues. We've got suspension. We've got Scott Allardyce out for 3 months with a knee injury. He's away for an operation, so that changes personnel. We've obviously got the captain out through suspension, and he's injured as well. And we've got Ryan Leake, who is going for an X-ray in his ankle after, I think it was Brian Graham, that fell on top of him the other night. So Ben Purrington obviously moved out. He wanted to move back to the southwest, so we've got to change things there. So it's all about continuity, and we need to have continuity throughout the squad. And when you're a manager and trying to pick a team, it's not easy at times because you don't know who's going to be fit until a Friday. You really have that on a Tuesday. And this morning, Will Nightingale, he's away to Wimbledon to get an injection in his knee. So if you're looking at it at this moment in time, we don't have any centre halves. So that's how difficult it is as a manager. It's quite easy from the outside to look at things and say, how can you not do that and do this? But if you've got a plan in place and you don't have the tools to do it, it's like going to the job and not having the tools. You can't do the job, and that's the scenario in training at this moment in time.
Derek, there, he didn't really answer your question, Ramsay. Just railed off a load of excuses, didn't he?
Sorry,
just railed off a load of excuses, mainly.
I mean, yeah. I was going to ask him, or someone else probably would have asked him about injuries anyway. I had it in my notes. I was actually hoping to get an idea of what proceedings were like at the club when he came in, when he was getting those decent results. But no, he was clearly bursting to talk about those injury worries anyway, which I don't blame him, because Allardyce for 3 months is a killer blow. Not to mention, obviously, if you're a player out for 3 months, what effect it'll have on you. So I feel really bad for him. It's his first season in the top flight. He's been playing a lot of football. He's been a very important player. So I hope he comes back better and stronger, and I send my best wishes to him. I think the centre-back situation, we've got one fit first-team centre-back, and it's sort of a fit because he's being sent into Wimbledon for an injection, and I think, is it his knee or his ankle? I think Leake can ball her ankle, and Nightingale's a knee.
I think it's today he's getting sent down, is it? I think he's getting it today.
Sorry?
I think it's today he's getting his injection, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but it is a real problem. I have absolutely no idea how we're going to line up against Celtic. I think I've heard that Borthwick Jackson can maybe play on the left side of a three, maybe throwing him in out position in his first game for the club at Celtic Park. It's probably not what you dream of as a fan of Ross County, but I mean, we've seen Conor Randall come on the right side of a three before. I am really nervous for this game.
Yeah, going on to the Celtic game now. That was the main part of his interview was his injuries. We don't have a fully fit centre back going into the game. What do we do, Pete?
Yeah, it's a great question. And to be honest, I think we've got to look at it as maybe we're lucky this is happening now and not in a game in a few weeks where for example, against a Livingston or a Motherwell, when it really matters. If we're going into a game there with no fit centre half, you're thinking, well, this is curtains. Obviously, it's not good in terms of goal difference and stuff like that. But I think we've got to be frankly honest and say we're probably going to lose the game anyway. So I think it's probably just a fact of damage limitation.
Yeah, I actually think that the more problem is that it's not far away from that Livy game. Like the Celtic game, I think it's a free hit anyway. We probably don't want to leave with a 15 goal deficit to our goal difference, but I think that Livingston on Tuesday could be more of an issue if these players are going to be out for a while. It's not looking great, is it, Liam?
Nah, not at all. What do you do? Can't wait to see the lineup. Be funny. Like, like what's it going to be? Are we going to go? We're just going to go 5 at the back and stick, everybody just 10 men behind the ball, or are we going to stick White at centre back and just head everything away?
Laidlaw centre back.
Laidlaw centre back. Like, what do you do? What do you do? I guess it probably will be Randall, Nightingale, and that Borthwick Jackson, probably. Yeah. But I don't see how else you line up because we don't have any defensive players whatsoever. Like, it's not even like Eli King or Jenks or Laturi can play centre back. There's
no like Ross Draper type midfielder. Do you think you can just pull back? I don't think there's much point even trying to do a Staggies view lineup this week because there's just clueless. I'm just clueless. Ramsay, do you have any ideas how this situation might rectify itself?
No, not really. I think I come on here and I can be a bit negative sometimes. I promise I try to be positive. But I'm sitting here thinking about this game and I can't help but just be a little bit scared. I think the boys will know, obviously. They've got injury problems at the back. But after that Park game, I think they'll think, we've got a point to prove here. At Celtic Park, it's a free hit. Go and try and make it at least competitive. I think they'll hopefully have the goal to do that. I don't really know. They're obviously being dealt a bad hand with how many injuries we have at the back. So hopefully the boys that are available are able to make something out of the match.
Yeah, we'll patch the lineup this week, but I'll just come to each of you. What is your score prediction, and how many goals are we going to concede? I'll start with you, Liam.
5-0, probably quite easily.
2-2.
I'll be putting a bet on over 5 goals, I think. 5-0 Celtic. I don't see. I conceded 3 to Partick Thistle. It could be 10. It could be
Football
15.
doesn't work like that. Fingers
Ramsay,
crossed.
what are we thinking? Ramsay, push you for an answer. What score are we going for?
Hopefully it'll be one of those boring games where Celtic don't come out first gear and it's just like a boring 2-0.
Pete,
I mean, first and foremost, I'd be absolutely buzzing if it's only 2-0. I think to be more positive than the rest of you so far, I think we'll score a goal. I think I'll go. Will we go brutally honest, or will we try and be positive? We'll go brutally honest. I'll say 6-1.
I'm going to go for 1-0 County. Laidlaw plays the game of his life. Jordan White.
I thought you were going to say Laidlaw scores.
Jordan White next to winner.
Back to the Jordan White, Ross Laidlaw, and Will Nightingale with one knee.
Right, I don't even want to talk about this game anymore. I think we'll move on and we'll find out. We'll find out on next week's pod who was closest to their score prediction. I think it might be me, but we'll find out. We'll find out. Surprisingly, we've got some question boys.
Oh,
I thought Liam's appearance on the podcast has made the fans come out in their droves.
It's just what I do. It's what I do.
And we're going to start with my old flatmate, Matthew Wilson. He says, do you keep Derek Adams in charge for St Johnstone and Motherwell games if we lose to Livy? I don't think there's any question that Derek Adams will be in charge till the end of the season. I think something would have to go pretty... stuff's gone pretty badly wrong already, and he's still here. So I think Roy will be looking to keep him to the end of the season, even if we do get relegated, unless we just fall that far off. But would you personally, Pete, would you keep him in charge if we lost to Livy?
Yeah, I would, but not for the whole season. I think when you look at this managerial appointment and previous ones we've had, or let's just take the last one, for example, Malky Mackay came to the club. He was given a 3-year deal. It was a long-term project. There was faith put in him. You know, giving a manager a 3-year deal is not something that teams do lightly. And you look at this one, Derek Adams has been given a 1-year contract. Yeah, okay, it's rolling, so there's an option to extend it there. But I think, you know, let's be honest, deep down, if Roy thought this was the perfect long-term appointment to get us back to the heights of top 6, surely he would have given him a longer contract than a year. I have a fear inside me that Roy kind of half feared that it might go this way and it might go wrong, and that's why he was only given a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
So to me, I think, yeah, he'll still be in charge after the Livy game, but I think if you look at the 2 games after that against, is it St Johnstone and Motherwell, is it?
Yeah.
2 massive games. I think if we go through all 3 of those fixtures without having picked up a win, then I think there's the only thing that can be over Adams is serious questions. I think when you get to that stage and Livingston may have cut the gap by then, who knows? I think there has to be serious questions asked. If we end up in that situation, then I think we'd be stupid not to think about changing manager, considering the fact we would only have to pay him off until May, until his contract's done. It's not as if he's got this big, massive bumper deal that we can't afford to pay off. I think, Robbie, you said you think he'll be here to the end of the season. To be honest, as much as I personally want Derek Adams to do well, he's a club legend. There's nothing more we'd all love than for him to succeed and take us back to the heights. But I've got to be honest, and I just don't see him being here until the end of the season if things keep going the way they are.
Yeah, we also got Jack Ross, 1929. Also asked, could Livy be Derek's last game? Scott McIntosh went one further. He said, should Adams just pack his bag and go? He looks as though he has lost the dressing room, and supporters are generally not happy at the way he's handling things. Ramsay, Liam, what do you think? Do you think he will get Livy? Are we all agreeing he will last a loss at Livy, or do you think otherwise?
Yeah,
I think he will.
He'll survive a defeat. The thing is, right, it's that if you look on social media, it is bad. Like, so many County fans have had enough already. And even though I echo the same thoughts as Pete, he's meant to be this Mr. Ross County. I would love nothing more than for him to have success. I don't think he'll get. He won't get sacked until a lot later on. I don't think. I get what you're saying, Pete, but I'm more lean towards the Robbie side of things, where I don't think we're changing manager again this season. But I don't know what I'd do if we come out the other side of Motherwell and St. Johnstone without a win, or God forbid 3 defeats.
Yeah, I think
it's just starting to look. It's just starting to look very, very real, very, very quickly, and I'm scared.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
3 defeats on the bounce. We can reevaluate, but I think we'll park the Derek Adams chat there. Apart from one final question that also came from Jack Ross, 1929, which was, "Do you know the real Derek Adams?"
Please stand up.
No comment.
We'll move on for that. So we'll go little question from Liam Miller. He says, "Will there be a handsome special guest?" Sadly, the answer is clearly no. So I hope that answers your question, Liam.
Yeah, shout out to Liam. He's a great guy.
Neil Sinclair.
Handsome man himself, I think.
Neil Sinclair. If Derek Adams had a goldfish, what would he call it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Cracking question.
You can always rely on Neil Sinclair to provide.
What would you reckon?
Do you know what? Do you know what I think he'd call his goldfish?
What?
Derek Adams.
Don't know if this is too brutal, but I think you call it Mac Sheaf. Orange and just floats about. That's bad. I'm sorry, Max.
Too late now.
Nah, you can cut that. He's
That's not getting cut.
Come on.
Ramsay, what are you calling?
I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I hope he
I
does
already
well.
gave an answer. I said he'd call it Songo.
That's good.
I don't think I'm not beating that. I could say I'm on Jordan Slew or something. Like, there's no, I'm not. I think you two have definitely won on that one. What else can be done before the transfer window shuts? From Jono, we've kind of said this already. Max, get the 2 loans in. Probably Jenks and a centre back is the kind of the best we can hope for. Is Banksy 72? Alex Banks says, "How many points do Ross County pick up from the next 5?" So we start with Celtic. I think we can safely say, unless we do get the 1-0 win that I'm hoping for, that'll probably be a no. Then we've got Livingston, St. Johnstone, Motherwell, and finally a lovely Valentine's trip to Ibrox. What are we thinking? Realistically, Old Firm, probably 0. Livy, Motherwell, St. Johnstone, 3 massive games.
Yeah. I think we'll get 3 points for the next 5. I think we will beat one of those 3 that are sandwiched in between playing the Old Firm.
Ramsay, any more positive feelings?
Not really. No, that's not it. I think St. Johnstone are starting to push up the league now. I think Motherwell are definitely one of those teams that don't have a sort of good vibe around them at the moment. I think things are getting a little bit. People are starting to get a little bit restless about, obviously, our man Ketts. I think I could definitely see us getting something against Motherwell. I think Livingston, it's safe to say, is a must-win. I think if we beat Livingston, that's a massive result to put a little bit of space between us and them. And then obviously we've got Rangers at the end. Never beat them in their history still. And the saddest thing about that being on Valentine's Day is that I will probably be there. So,
100%. All three of us will be there.
You've got to
go dates.
You've got to spend Valentine's with the true love of your life. Ross County Football Club.
Yeah, Danda.
James
Call it a Valentine's Day song.
Banksy also asked what felt worse, exiting to Hamilton on penalties or the 3-0 against Partick. I think Partick probably. Felt worse in the moment. In the moment, maybe Hamilton.
We didn't
Acts got relegated in the same season.
Yeah, true.
But at least we kept a clean sheet in real time.
Yeah.
There's always that to look at. That was positive.
We got to cheat a few penalties.
Yeah. Willie Macchio scored.
Oh, yes, we did. I forgot.
The big dog.
Bring him back, man. And then finally, where is the highest you can realistically see County finishing this season?
10th.
Well, I don't know. We get a run of form, I could see us going higher. I mean, there's only what 5 points between us and 7th. So, but I mean,
what's the highest we can, not where will we finish. I think we can.
The highest we can finish is
top 6.
6th, probably.
Top 6.
It's the highest we can finish. Yeah. 7 points.
Well, I think realistically, I would bite my right arm off for 10th. Bite Ramsay's arm off for 10th.
Thanks.
I think that probably concludes our questions today.
Nice.
Hugh
Good
Morrow
to finally have some questions.
Hugh Morrow says, "What's Robbie's record for haggis eating?" I think.
I mean,
might be getting beaten tonight. Might be getting beaten tonight, given that Liam has patched my Burns night invitation to do work, which is clearly not. You're not spending much time doing work at the moment, but
I know. I took time out of work to do this.
Was there not another question that was quite insulting? Hold on.
Oh,
from Alessandro.
I thought we would just gloss over our pal Alessandro's. Why do Ross County have the ugliest support? I think I would have to ask you three
because our post about questions was over a picture of our faces doing the last podcast.
Given that question is coming from a spoon burning Hibs fan, though, I think we could probably just forget his opinion on that one.
Can you say that?
I can say whatever I want, mate. If you've got a question for next week's show, remember to follow us at Staggies View across Instagram and Twitter. It's right there.
Oh, that way.
There, that one. Get us followed, and we'll get them answered. Get them answered in next week's show. But until then, boys, have a great Burns night. Have a even better time watching County lose on Saturday. And I'll see you next week, huh?